Today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about saddle fit. I was a certified registered NARA instructor, North American Riding for the Handicapped Association. They have since changed their name and I don't remember what they changed it to. I'll put it below. But part of that certification is that you have to know how to fit a saddle. So I wanted to show you a saddle on two different conformation of horses. So as you can see, Buck here is 4 years old. He has a bit of a natural muscled top line. He's not what I would consider a flat back, but I would consider him a broad backed horse. He does have a bit of a contoured back between his withers and the flat small of his back. So a more flat backed horse would not really have this kind of definition between their withers. As he gains more muscle, he's not in really heavy work yet, but as he gains more muscle and more top line, we might see the conformation of his back change. So Comet here, you can see, has a much different conformation in regards to his top line. He is a 22, 23, he might even be up to 25-year-old horse. I got him 10 years ago and was told he was 12 years old. The vet at the time said that he was definitely under 15 years old due to looking at his teeth, so we kind of rolled with 12. So if we say that he was 12 when I got him, he's 22 now. He might be slightly older, we're not totally sure. But his top line, I would not consider him a swayed backed horse because swayed backed horses have that conformation in their younger years. Comet in his younger years looked a lot more like Buck did. This is just due to over age and time. This is just the natural curvature a horse tends to get. So you could say it's sway back-ish. Sway backed horse would have a very protruded belly and kind of like lordosis for a horse, meaning their pelvis would shift kind of this way and they would have that kind of lordosis, kind of what pregnant women get, curved to their spine. He does not have that. This is mostly lack of muscle top line. He is not in heavy work as well. He goes on gentle hacks a couple times a week, mostly walking, some trotting and cantering, just to keep him ridden and exercised. That's healthier for their joints. He does have a bit of a hunter's hump. He has had that his whole lifetime. He came from a hunter jumper equestrian camp, the Auburn University Equestrian Center. They used him as a camp horse, and they also used him, I believe, in their hunter jumper circuit for the Auburn equestrian team. But he's always had a very pronounced wither. I would almost say it's typical of a shark fin wither. I did have a thoroughbred who had a much higher wither than this, but he does have a pretty pronounced wither for his breed. So as you can see, he has a bit more definition between his wither and the rest of his top line compared to Buck. So let's see how saddles fit either horse. Please ignore the fact that I have brown stirrup leathers on my black dressage saddle. The black stirrup leathers that went with this were getting pretty old and stretched out, so I switched them to this pair that I had on hand, and I ordered some new ones. So for the time being, just ignore that. And ignore the fact that this safety stirrup is on the wrong way. If you get safety stirrups, you want to put them on your saddle this way. This is the only saddle I have for Blake to ride in, so unfortunately, he's not unfortunately, but he's just a little picky. He does not like the stirrup to naturally fit around his leg like it should. He likes it to go against his leg. Don't ask me why. I've tried to talk him into, you need to do it this way, but whatever. So that is the explanation for that. I do realize these are on backwards, and I do realize I have brown leathers on a black saddle. Forgive me. But if you look at the general fit of this saddle, it fits Buck fairly well. If I can get him to square up a little bit. Square up, buddy. So he's got weight on all 4 feet now. You can see that the saddle is level. If I were to put a pin in the center of the saddle, hey, sorry, I know you're sleeping. If I were to put a pin in the center of the saddle, then it would sit in the center of the saddle. It would not roll backwards or forwards. So it does not tilt forward and it does not tilt backward. It is relatively level. It's a fairly good fitting saddle for Buck. I can fit a full hand between the channel and I can fit an arm all the way through the channel. Same on the back. It does not sit on his spine at all. When you're checking the fit of a saddle, you want to put it on the horse without any type of saddle pad underneath. You want to run your hand along the saddle and make sure that there is even, consistent contact. There's no areas where there is more contact and then a gap in contact, for instance. And this saddle pretty much fits him like a glove. I'm very happy about that. I do want to get another dressage saddle. This is an Anki. It's kind of front of the line, middle of the road kind of saddle. It's a little small for me. I used it when I was in my smaller days. I believe it's a 17-inch, and honestly I probably need an 18-inch. But we're gonna roll with it for now. I do not have the money to buy a more expensive saddle. Maybe when I graduate and make six figures like CRNAs do, I'll be able to afford better tack. But I'm very happy with the way this tack fits this horse. Alright, same exact saddle on a different horse now. So as you can see, this saddle fits Comet uphill, meaning it tilts up like this. So on back, it's set fairly straight. On Comet, since he has such a sway in his back and such a pronounced wither and shoulder, it tilts up. So with that being said, in regards to the fit of the saddle, I can still fit 4 fingers in the channel. I can fit all the way through the channel. He has room for his spine. I can fit 3 fingers on the back. Ideally, you want 4 all the way through the channel, so you have plenty of room between the spine and the saddle, the spine of the horse and the spine of the saddle. But when you put a rider, even a heavier rider like Blake, on him, and that's another thing with saddle fit. You want to see how it fits with the rider. Some saddles look great. You put weight of the rider on, it mashes the saddle down and touches the horse's spine. This saddle has good flocking, so it helps prevent that from happening. So it's not the most ideal fit for Comet, but it fits well enough that there are not any pronounced pressure points. Now with him, if you run your hand straight through, it does not fit quite like a glove like it does with Buck. There is slightly more pressure here than here, but I would say it's very minimalistic. The biggest issue that I think saddles can have is if there's more pressure right here as opposed to through the length of the saddle, and he has pretty even pressure through the length of the flocking of the saddle. It's more in the front flap of the saddle. There's slightly more pressure here than right here, but like I said, it's not a big difference. Some saddles you can see a big difference where they're almost pinching here, and you can almost fit like a fist in here, and you need a different saddle for that type of horse. So, well, I'll show you what I do to correct this angle to this saddle. So in an ideal world, I would just use a saddle pad and a thin line pad. I love thin line pads for all horses of all types. It provides cushioning for you and the horse. So it's a shock absorber. It's a thin material. It won't change the fit of your saddle like some half pads can that are thicker. It's got great shock absorbing quality to it, and it not only is a shock absorber for your horse but also the rider as well. I can actually tell the difference when I don't ride with that one. My lower back when I get off is a little sore. So I have back issues myself, and I can really tell the difference. I even have thin line insoles, and they help my knees for my shoes. So ideally this is what you would want, but since his again goes at an angle, we're going to add what's called a lollipop riser pad. Still going to do the thin line on the bottom because it's a larger pad than this. You want to put your smaller pad on top of your larger pad. This is a lollipop or keyhole riser pad. It does not, sorry, it's a little makeshifty. I added some foaming to it, but it does not rise the front of the saddle, only the back of the saddle. So it works if a saddle is like this. And if you had a saddle tilted like that, you would need a front riser pad, which basically looks like the front half of this pad, or a new saddle. So as you can see, adding the back riser pad has now made the saddle go from this angle to more of a level angle. It's not the most ideal situation in the world, but like I said, Comet is not in heavy work. He is not in competition. If he were in heavy work and was in competition, then I would find a way to get him a custom fit saddle. He just goes on small hacks and he stays comfortable enough in this kind of setup. So if you have a saddle that doesn't ideally fit, these are some options that you could use. I always get a saddle fitter to check it, or somebody who is certified in saddle fitting to check it, or somebody who's well experienced in saddle fitting to check it, because you can cause major issues to yourself and your horse. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please like, please subscribe, and see you next time.